Howdy! Welcome back to Math for All, where you are learning more about math. Today, we are continuing our incredible study on lines. Who knew there was so much to these silly things? We are going to look at the final form of lines, called the standard form. If you can, before we get started, please print out notes that go along with this video from my website, MathforAll.net. You can follow along and fill in the blanks as we go. We will introduce standard form, show you two methods on how to graph them. You'll learn how to change linear equations into standard form. And finally, I'll summarize the three line forms and what each of them tells us. We have learned slope-intercept form, y equals mx plus b. Point slope form, y minus y1 equals mx minus x1. And now standard form looks like this. ax plus by equals c, with the a, b, and the c as capital letters. Let's take a closer look at ax plus by equals c. Those capital letters indicate that each of those numbers are integers. Integers can be positive or negative, but they cannot be fractions. Also, ideally that first term with the a will not be negative. Now you may ask, why do we need to learn another form? Life was just fine with the other two we've learned. I think standard form is important to be familiar with because it shows up in word problems, like Sarah bought R roses for $3 and $2 for T tulips and spent $24. What would be the equation that models that? She spent $3 times however many roses she bought, R, then add $2 times T for how much she spent total, which equals $24. This type of word information comes out in standard form. Let's go over two methods on how to graph equations in standard form. We can either turn it into our favorite, y equals mx plus b, and then graph it, or we can plot the intercepts. You get to decide. First, we'll practice turning a standard form equation into slope-intercept form, or y equals mx plus b. My example is 4x minus 5y equals 20. We get to do algebra to isolate that y. Basically, get the y by itself. What's annoying it? The 4x and the negative 5 in front of it. First, we'll subtract 4x from both sides. I'll remember to put it in the front so it will look more like the mx plus b. Negative 5y equals negative 4x plus 20. Next, tackle that negative 5. I will divide both sides by negative 5. One important thing to remember is that when you divide by both sides, you must divide every term by negative 5. We put the negative 5 under everything and simplify. Y equals 4/5 x minus 4. Hopefully you'll remember how to graph lines in this form. We start backwards with the negative 4. That's my y-intercept, and then up 4 over 5 and a line through it. Our second method for these equations is to find the x and y intercepts and then graph through those. Quick info first. The x-intercept is where the line crosses the x-axis, and it is always where y equals 0. The y-intercept is aptly where it crosses the y-axis and the x equals 0. We will use this information to graph these. Taking our 4x minus 5y equals 20. I make the beginning of 2 points, one with x equals 0 and then the other with y equals 0. More algebra. Put 0 in for your y and solve for x. What's cool about setting things equal to 0 is that they go away. 4x equals 20. X equals 5, so my x-intercept is 5, 0. I set x equal to 0 to get my other point, negative 5y equals 20. Y equals negative 4, so my second point will be 0, negative 4. Plot these, draw a line, and off we go. We get the same points and the line either way. Most students I've seen prefer the first method of turning it into y equals mx plus b, But math people seem to think you should know how to do the second method with those intercepts. Next topic for today is learning how to turn equations into standard form. I'll say it's 2 steps. Step 1, move the x and the y terms over to one side with a constant term on the other. We'll just add and subtract to do this. Some books state that the x term must be positive, so keep that in mind. Step 2, we'll remember that standard form is not allowed to have fractions. So if we have fractions, we have to multiply the entire equation by the least common denominator to get rid of them. Look at this example. What is negative 3/4 y equals 1/2 x minus 7 in standard form? Step 1, I gotta move the x and y to the same side. And I'll keep that x positive so the y term moves over to meet up with him, adding 3/4 y to both sides. And that negative 7 must head to the other side, so add 7 to both sides. I think you can handle if I do both of those in one step. I have 7 equals 1/2 x plus 3/4 y. It's looking great, almost standard form, but it is illegal to have those fractions. So, step 2, multiply each term by the least common denominator. For us, it's 4 because the 2 and the 4 go into 4. We can show multiplying by 4 to each term. Then 7 times 4 is 28. Don't forget the other side with the fractions. 1/2 x times 4 is 2x. 3/4 y times 4 is just 3y. 28 equals 2x plus 3y. I will be extremely legal and put the variables first. So our messy original equation in standard form is 2x plus 3y equals 28. Great job. One more very important thing before we put it all together in our next video. We're going to summarize the 3 forms of linear equations and go over what each of them tells us. First up is slope-intercept form. You should know that it is in y equals mx plus b. An example is y equals negative 5/6 x plus 2. I'm going to venture to say this is the most useful and popular form of a line. It tells us the supercritical y-intercept, 0, 2, and the slope is readily available at negative 5/6. We can see that the line starts at 2 and goes down from there. Next, we have point slope form. Y minus y1 equals m parentheses x minus x1. The same line example in point slope form could be y minus 6 equals negative 5/6 x plus 3. This form tells us a point on the line, but not necessarily the y-intercept. For this one, it would be the point negative 3, 6, and it also tells us that slope of negative 5/6. Indicating that it will go down. Lastly is standard form. ax plus by equals c. That same line looks like this. 5x plus 6y equals 12. What does it tell us right away? Nothing. We have to change him around to see a point and the slope. Remember, we just have to know how to deal with him because he comes up a lot in word problems. Congratulations on learning just a little more about math from MathforAll. You are becoming a straight line expert. Now you can practice what you've learned by printing out a worksheet from my website, MathforAll.net, and practicing the exact things that we learned today. Then come back to learn more about math.